Hi, and welcome to Yorktown, our April edition. We are here today with Paul Martin from the Yorktown Historical Society, Robin Steinberg from our planning department, and of course myself. And we're going to talk about some of our upcoming ways that we're celebrating the Revolutionary War and the 250th anniversary of our great republic. Paul, one of our big events kicking it off, we're going to have a dedication of a monument for our Revolutionary War patriots, but we already sort of have one in town, don't we?
Yes. Yes, we do. So back in 2018, the Yorktown Historical Society, with concert with the community and a lot of private funders and people who helped support our fundraising drive, we proposed a monument dedicated to the patriots who fought and died at the Battle of Pines Bridge, what's been called the Battle of Pines Bridge, which actually took place down by the Croton River, close to where Route 100 currently crosses over the Croton Reservoir. At the time, there was no reservoir. It was just a smaller river, only about 15, 25 feet across, and there was a bridge that crossed that river called the Pines Bridge. And it was a well-traveled route between White Plains and Point South, and the Patriot troops and Patriot forces that were north of the Croton River. The Croton River was almost used as a defensive line. And the bridge that crossed it, they would actually take the wooden planks of the bridge off at night to prevent people from being able to come across the bridge unsuspected. So anyway, several people at the Yorktown Historical Society, Michael Kahn, John Tegeter, Robin, a lot of people at the time, Tommy Diana, Michael Grace, all kind of got together and decided that it would be a great thing for our town to really commemorate that battle, which took place. And it took place it was a running battle between the river and the Davenport House, and without going into the woods too deep, it took place in that general area. So we wanted to place a monument dedicated to the troops. I think there were 21 Patriot soldiers at the time who lost their lives in the battle. Several more were captured and wounded, and including Colonel Green, Colonel Christopher Green, who was killed in the battle, and his second-in-command, Major Flagg. So we wanted to create a monument dedicated to those men. And interestingly enough, it was a Rhode Island regiment, the Rhode Island Regiment, which for its time was very unique because it was an integrated regiment, and it included African Americans and Indians, in Native American Indians, in the regiment as well. So we wanted to honor those men, and we did a fundraising drive, and we were very successful. And with the help of the town and other private citizens and corporations and things, we were able to dedicate that monument in November of 2018.
Right, so, Paul, tell us the results of the battle.
The results of the battle. Well, it was a little complicated. It was technically at this, let's call it the British troops and the American troops, even though we weren't necessarily calling ourselves Americans at the time. But it was a surprise attack by the British early in the morning, and it was a loss in terms of the American troops. As I said, many of the soldiers were captured, many were killed, and the British then, after the surprise attack, so to speak, and they really, the troops were sent there to guard the Pines Bridge and to guard the river crossings, and they were kind of caught by surprise. There was some illness that had run through the camp, so a lot of the men were not up, in the best physical shape, and so the British kind of attacked the camp, essentially. It was a raid of sorts, and then they retreated back down to the White Plains area.
Very interesting. So the fundraising went on. We now have the monument, which is at Railroad Park right here in town. Tell us a little bit about the composition of the monument.
Well, the monument was, and we had a competition among sculptors to come in and present ideas for what the monument would look like. And the committee selected sculptor Jay Warren, who I believe is from Oregon. And we liked his image the best. And his image featured Colonel Green. It featured a Native American Indian, and it featured an African American in the uniform of the 1st Rhode Island and the Rhode Island troops. And that's what we decided to depict on the statue. And it's basically the three figures kind of standing with their backs to each other in a last-minute fight, defending themselves against a much larger force of British soldiers that came to attack them.
Right. So we have the monument. I believe the date now is May 2nd, correct? Which will coincide with the unveiling of our Revolutionary War monument at the Veteran Memorials Circle right behind Town Hall. Then there'll be a parade of sorts down to Railroad Park, which is a short trip away. From Railroad Park, we will have, I believe, a rededication of the Pines Ridge Monument. And then we also are supposed to be dedicating a plaque for the Daughters of the American Revolution as well.
Yes.
So there's a lot going on, but I think probably a little more than just that, correct?
Right. So on that Saturday, we're going to have like a colonial type festival around the monument during the day. So once you go on the parade over to Railroad Park, we'll rededicate the monument. There'll be some speakers there, but then we're also going to have a dramatic storytelling by Jonathan Kruk, who is going to play Colonel Green. Along with some other reenactors. We have a Native American, we have the Rhode Island Regiment coming, the Living History Company represents the Rhode Island Regiment. We have Dwayne Jackson and Antoine Watts in their Rhode Island Regiment uniforms that will be there. This is the Living History Company from New Jersey that comes to represent the regiment. There they are again in their uniforms. We're going to have Jonathan Kruk. He'll do his dramatic storytelling from his point of view, from Colonel Green's point of view, twice during the afternoon. And we'll also have some other colonial artisans, including Carla and Keys from Yorktown. Will be there playing historical music. We'll also have blacksmith Tom Hunt and wood joiner Eric Paul there demonstrating. The kids will get to check out how they might construct things in the 18th century.
Just back up real quick. It's kind of interesting because like the wood joinery in early America, you could still find some wonderful pieces of furniture around that have all
put together that way.
Yeah, the co-joined wood. It's really amazing how they do that. So that sounds like a really interesting presentation there.
Yep, they both have a really great setup. And we're also going to have some other artisans. There'll be some women to represent the women's life during the Revolution. And we're going to have vendors and food. So from then until 4 o'clock, the public can come and go to all those tables, vendors about the Revolution and learn a little bit about colonial America.
Fantastic. Paul, did you
And
want?
the highlight, I think, of the afternoon is going to be our what we're calling a reenactment of the actual battle or the Pinesbridge battle and the fight that took place at the Davenport House. Again, it was about 300 or so British troops that kind of attacked from two different directions, and they were met by a very small company of the Rhode Island troops and American infantrymen and militia, including Colonel Green and Major Flagg, who were headquartered at the Davenport House. So we're going to try to recreate that battle as best we can in a very small area. Battles during the American Revolution weren't as large as they, came to be during the American Civil War era, or even obviously any of the modern wars. It's kind of, we called it the Battle of Pines Bridge, but most historians will refer to it as a skirmish, a smaller, much smaller fight on a much smaller scale. But we're going to try to recreate that on the Railroad Park grounds, utilizing our historic train station to represent the Davenport House with the American troops encamped around it when they were surprised by the British, who came in from two directions, from the north and the south.
Right.
So that's kind of, we're
So
kind
we'll
of excited
also
about that.
have soldiers from the 5th New York and the Lancey's Cowboys representing the enemy. So they'll all be at 2 o'clock attacking each other at the
That sounds
Davenport House.
sounds like fun. So, interestingly, I don't know if as many people know that Colonel Flagg and Colonel Green are actually buried right here in Yorktown at the First Presbyterian Church.
That is a great point, Ed. Thank you very much for bringing that up. Yeah, Colonel Green and Major Flagg are indeed buried right here in Yorktown Heights at the First Presbyterian Church, not far from Route 202. There was a monument put up to them by the government of Rhode Island, probably about 30 or 40 years ago now, to mark their graves. And that monument still exists on Route 202. And then there was a secondary marker put up to represent the African-American troops from Rhode Island who also died. Interestingly enough, as near as we can tell with the research, the soldiers who were killed at the Davenport House were unceremoniously buried, so to speak, in a mass grave somewhere within the vicinity of the Davenport House. And my research and my diving into that, we've been really unable to determine the exact precise location of that grave site. So it's probably still there somewhere within the grounds of the Davenport House, which is now a private residence. And the road trace has changed a number of times. Croton Heights Road is the name of the road that it's on. So we're still unsure at this point in time where the actual grave of those African-American soldiers are. And there were some white soldiers who were killed as well in the attack. But their names are all listed on the Pines Bridge Monument. And there was a historical marker at the Davenport House commemorating that site as well.
Very cool. Let's see. Well, here's a great question. I want to be a part of this, as a local business, and I'd like to try to support this. How can I do that?
That would be great. We have a donation site that you can get to from the town website. It's yorktownny.gov/the Battle of Pines Bridge. We have a Give Butter site where you can choose the level you want to donate to the event and support us. And that would be great. We could, depending on what level you pick, we'll highlight your business on our social media or on signs at the event, and maybe even in our advertising.
That sounds good. Do you know the levels of sponsorship offhand? Is that
That is not that paper,
Ah.
but but I can
It
quickly
looked
bring it
like
up if you would like.
Yeah, if you could bring it up, that would be great. So,
And one of the levels will include a memorial brick. A year after we dedicated the monument, one of the fundraising ideas that we completed at that time was that if, for a significant amount of donation, monetary donation, you would be able to secure a 4x8 or an 8x8 engraved brick with your name or your business or your family's name on it. And those bricks were placed around the plaza, the brick plaza surrounding the monument. And we had a brick dedication in the spring, in May of 2019, and there are still open spaces there. So if you would like to make a donation at a certain level, that would give you a brick for your family or for your business. You can do that as well. And we're going to be hopefully having those bricks placed in the plaza prior to the May 2nd event. And part of the monument rededication on that day is going to be a dedication of those new bricks as well.
all right, well, that sounds great, but, even if we could do something a little later in the season, maybe even Memorial Day, it gives people an opportunity to buy some. And then during
Right.
Memorial Day, we might be able to, also commemorate that and do an unveiling of some bricks. Because I know we have one for my father-in-law, but I'd love one for my family. And
Absolutely. And our goal that day as well is going to be to make people aware of the brick plaza. They'll actually be able to see it and give them, as you say, an opportunity to purchase a brick that day that would then be placed in the plaza at a later date.
now, is this the only time you're going to be selling bricks, or will that continue throughout?
I think we will hope to continue that, to use the funds moving forward for a lot of the other events that we're planning. This is really, I think, the kickoff event, both here in Yorktown and around the country, as you can imagine, with the 250th birthday celebration coming up on July 4th of 2026. We'll be commemorating other historic events that took place both here in Yorktown and the surrounding Westchester community, as well as throughout the nation. So it's going to be a several-year-long commemoration of the 250th birthday of America.
Yeah, and I think there's some great things to just keep celebrating from a historical point of view. In fact, Major John Andre came through Yorktown and was captured. Was he captured in Yorktown or around Yorktown?
No, he was captured down in the Tarrytown area,
Okay.
but he had his last breakfast as a free man here in Yorktown.
Right. So, and I do think, where this is probably the first reenactment, there is a play in the middle of April at the Presbyterian Church. I think A Date with Treason. Is that the one that with RW 250 and Rochambeau? I think. Let me look real quick. I know I have it in here,
Doing that again.
but tell us.
While you're looking that up, we do have a page on the town website dedicated to the 250 events that are occurring at the library, with the Historical Society, with RW 250. There's actually Toast 250 is at Peter Pratt's Inn on Sunday, April 26th. It starts in the afternoon from 2 to 4, kind of a meet and greet with reenactors. And then from 4 to 6, there's Revolutionary War Trivia, Westchester edition. And Peter Pratt's is diagonally across the street from the Davenport House.
Right.
So it's a great place to go back in time.
Yeah, well, I was
that
going to
event.
say, you go in there and it's like walking into a Revolutionary War tavern. It's got the rock-hewn walls. It's really a pretty amazing, amazing building.
Yep. And the the Hart Library has quite a few authors this year that are coming to visit. On May 8th, they're having an event with Stephanie Dre and Laura Camoy that wrote a book called A Founding Mother. So all these events are listed on our town calendar and just on this special page.
We have one. Is it on April 26th? It's like the one county, one read. I think you passed it.
It's April 25th is the
Fifth.
One County, One Read. The book, The Revolutionary Samuel Adams by Stacy Schiff, that is organized by the library system, and she is talking at the White Plains Library, right? On April
White
25th.
Plains or the
Yonkers.
Yonkers. I think
Yonkers.
Yonkers. I think the
Yeah.
the Gordon Will
Yeah.
Library on Tuckahoe Road and Central
So
Avenue.
you can click on these links, brings you to the library and the page about that information, where it is. And I believe Yvonne might be trying to do a little simulcast in case people can't
Yes.
attend it at our library.
So on April 17th at 7:30, free admission, Yorktown's historic First Presbyterian Church will be the site of, Rendezvous with Treason. I just think of Friday as date night, so date with treason or whatever. A dramatic portrayal of the fateful encounter between two of the American Revolution's most intriguing characters, who were Benedict Arnold and Major John Andre. So, that's really interesting as well. Everyone thinks Benedict Arnold is a traitor, and he was actually the hero of the Battle of Saratoga. And wasn't he involved also in getting the cannons from Lake Champlain over to Boston to line the bay with cannons to get rid of the British, to scare off the British when they were trying to encamp into Boston?
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know everything, Ed.
Come on, Paul.
No, it could very well be.
I believe he was a major force in that. So they needed to reinforce the walls of of Boston to try to keep the British out of the harbor. And what they did was they had a mission to move the cannons from Lake Champlain all the way across to Boston, which back then was pretty major moving those. Those cannons are pretty heavy, aren't they?
Yeah, they are very heavy.
Yeah, so it was interesting. Yes, Paul. Yeah.
Well, we would be remiss if we didn't also mention, in conjunction with our May 2nd Battle of Pines Bridge commemoration, the night before, on Friday, May 1st at 7 p.m. at the Albert Cappellini Community and Cultural Center right here in Yorktown, we are having a presentation and reception with Dr. Shirley Green, who's an author, and she's going to present the fascinating history of the Frank brothers, who were free men of color who served in the Rhode Island Regiment. And she's going to talk a little bit about her book during that presentation, and then she's going to have a Q&A following the presentation, and that's going to be the night before at 7 p.m. at the Cappellini Center, and all are invited to that. Again, attendance is free for both that event as well as the next day's event on May 2nd. So we're inviting everybody to kind of set that weekend aside and come to both of those events, the presentation on Friday night, and then the full day living history / reenactment / rededication ceremony on Saturday afternoon. So that's another event we have coming up.
It might be because I was only 11 at the time, but I don't seem to remember as much regarding the bicentennial as we are seeing for the 250th. What is it, sequentennial?
I think they call it the sesquicentennial.
Yeah, that might be. So,
yeah, I mean, there were definitely activities in 1976 for the 200th anniversary.
Well, I remember the big fireworks
right,
display,
big fireworks.
The tall ships coming up the Hudson.
Right.
But I don't remember like the local stuff being as much.
Probably not, although I'm sure there was some in Boston and, Bunker Hill and some of those other historic places. But I think the, media coverage of the time, perhaps, was probably not as worldwide, for lack of a better term, or even countrywide, the way we have all the social media and the Facebook and all of, those types of avenues for not only promoting the events, but then showing the events after they take place as well. So that might have something to do with it, in terms of the difference in 50 years. What a difference 50 years made, you know. So
Yeah. Well, I just, I personally love it. Our history, our nation, just what the United States stands for, and
Oh, absolutely.
that beacon on the hill, that freedom,
Absolutely.
that, it's an amazing thing, and should be celebrated, and should be really a huge thing for everyone. We should all be thrilled to be a part of this. It's history.
No doubt.
Yeah, I was
No
just
doubt.
talking to a buddy of mine that we actually met in '77, but he was talking about going to the tall ships this year.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, because I was there in '76. And I'm like, oh, so was I. My mom took me, his mom took him. And, but it's something that, half a lifetime later still stays with us.
Right.
So it is, it's great. And, I'm glad that Yorktown is, on the forefront of this and really being there. And I really thank, we have our Historical Society here today, but we also have our Heritage Commission that's been working on this project. Of course, our planning department, always with a great sense of the history of Yorktown as we look at our progress with preservation and the things that are so important. But, Robin, what else can we be looking at this year?
Let's just go back to our list. These are all the events happening at John C. Hart Memorial Library this year. These first start for children's programs,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of story times, crafts, all geared towards American Revolution and celebrating America 250. There's some teen book reading, book club, and then adult events, again, crafting, all geared towards patriotic crafts, decoupage, bookmaking, and then there's a lot of different speakers. Yankee stargazing with Joe Rayo, everyone's favorite meteorologist. They're going to screen the Ken Burns documentary in May and July. Those dates weren't set yet, but that, if you haven't been able to watch that because you don't have that correct streaming network or whatever, you can come watch it at the library. There'll be Ghosts of the American Revolution, ghost stories, finding your ancestors and doing genealogy if you had ancestors during the American Revolution. And then again, they have a lot of authors' visits this year of people that wrote books about different parts of the American Revolution, which is also very interesting. And we're going to have the events posted from the Historic Preservation Commission also, the Heritage Preservation Commission also, as those come in, but they're throughout the whole year, so we're just keep adding them to this page. If people want to go to this page on the website, it's yorktownny.gov/Yorktown 250. So it's easy to find, and there's even a link right under our calendar on the front page just to get to the Revolutionary War events.
Nice. Now, I can't really see from right here, but I'm just curious, anyone doing, we have a local artist, a local author with us with Paul, but sort of the wrong era, Mitchell Air Force Base. But Vinnie DeQuino, who's from Mayapack, wrote a book on Sybil
Luddington.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And, she actually rode farther and truly alone than Paul Revere. As we all know, the story of Paul Revere is expressed in poetry, but there's a lot of myth in that. It was written, the Ride of Paul Revere was written, I think, 50 years after his ride. So it's interesting to find out, some of that history. And Sybil Luddington, actually at 16 years old or 15 years old, rode 40 miles warning about the British coming through. I'm wondering if anyone tapped him to try to see about coming.
I'm not sure.
Not yet, Ed, but you bring up a very good point, because we've tried to plan events for this coming year of 2026, And certainly moving forward after this year, we'll be looking to schedule other events, authors, talks, et cetera, from 2000, for 2027 and beyond. So anybody who's watching this video here now, this program now, if you have any ideas, if you are an author or you're a historian and you have something to offer us, the Yorktown Historical Society, as well as our planning committee, the Yorktown Planning Committee, of any events that you would like to see, that you've seen before or that you actually participate in yourself, please reach out to us. And we are very open and very receptive to other ideas and other events and programs that we can present for the population of Yorktown and the surrounding communities throughout the next 10 years or so. So that would be a great thing for people to reach out to us for as well.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, because really, even though, we declared our independence in 1776, what year did the Revolutionary War actually end? Was it 97?
I don't know that it was that long, but I think it was at least about 10 years.
Okay, maybe 87. I might be off a decade. I don't know. I was really young back then. No, but it took years for us to
Right,
really
correct.
win our independence, at least a decade.
Right.
And it's an important distinction.
Right,
And
right,
it probably was 87.
The 1776 was actually the year of the declaration of the war, so to
Right.
speak, for lack of a better term, and the war lasted for several years beyond that.
Right. So it's interesting. But no, that's great. Now this is our kickoff. I know we have one other big event planned right now as well, which is the Rochambeau Festival. That's on June 6th and 7th. And with that, the French General Rochambeau came through, stayed here, actually maybe even on your front lawn compared to where you live, and had an encampment throughout Yorktown. As a matter of fact, the French Hill is named after their encampment. The Rochambeau Festival is over at the Grange Fair. I don't know if they're charging.
They do usually.
They do charge. Yep, it's at the fairgrounds, and they have some period stuff, which is really nice. They've had different demonstrations. They have reenactors. I think Ben Franklin is there usually. Washington, Rochambeau, and they've actually had a direct descendant, I believe, of Rochambeau. But at least he's part of the French, the French delegation for the United Nations. He's a diplomat, but I think he might be a direct relationship, which is pretty cool. And he comes. He's been here the last few years, and it really adds to it. It's a pretty interesting time as well.
Yeah, they've been presenting that for a couple of years now, and that is going to take place this year on June 6th and 7th, a Saturday and a Sunday. And as you said, they bring in French diplomats and representatives from France to come and give presentations, and it's a very well attended, a nice 2-day event, a lot of campgrounds set up for the living historians and the reenactors on the Grange Fairgrounds. So we invite everybody to come and participate in that event as well. That's on June 6th and 7th of this coming year.
Yeah. So a lot going on.
A lot going
A
on.
lot to do.
A lot going on.
So I and while I talked there, we mentioned direct descendants, and I was talking about Daughters of the American Revolution, and I think Robin, you mentioned something about genealogy in the library. A lot of people might not know about DAR, or the Daughters of the American Revolution, which are actually women who can trace their history back to people who actually fought in the Revolutionary War, which is really, you talk about that history. We have people in the area that trace back to the Mayflower, But the Revolutionary War was that that was that crux of time that wasn't very popular. There were a lot of loyalists to England that lived in the area, but there was that fight, realizing that the taxation without representation, which was one of the big things, and living under the crown of under the heel of the crown, being dictated to, was not what America was supposed to be.
Right.
So that's good. And what is it? The Order of Cincinnatus for men who could trace their way back.
There is a Sons of the American Revolution,
Oh, is
what
it?
they call the SAR as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I always thought that was the Order of the Cincinnatus.
It could be. It could be. Again, I don't know everything, Ed.
Oh,
I have my scope of knowledge, but I'm always open to learn more.
Mitchell and Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Well,
And I guess the Battle of Pines Bridge, I'm
and
pretty
Pines
well
Bridge.
versed
There you
in.
go.
But
Yeah,
so,
I do believe that you will find that I'm correct on that one, but it's really great to be able to learn, embrace, or even like in this conversation, add things that
Add
you
things,
that
right.
you probably didn't know about.
right,
And just grow that much more.
exactly. Learning is a 24/7 occupation, Ed.
It is. It is. I've always said when you stop learning new things, you're in trouble. So what else do we have to talk about here, Paul and Robin?
I think we kind of covered it all. Can you think
Yeah.
of anything else, Robin or Ed? Anything else that you'd like to say? I mean, we thank you very much, the town, for the opportunity to be here today, to discuss these events and to invite the general public to come and join us for any or all of the events that they can come to. And again, keep going back to the Yorktown website, which is always going to have all the events listed. And if we haven't planned it yet and we plan it in the future, that will be put up as well for any newer upcoming events. And we're just really excited about being able to share with our community the very, very rich history of not only our country, but right here locally, the very rich history of Yorktown Heights. And at the time called Hanover, had a couple of different names, and there is historical speculation, although we haven't been able to document this as such, that the reason that the name changed from Hanover and Crompond and some of the other earlier revolutionary names that we used, that the reason the name Yorktown Heights came about was because of the French troops who were camped here, and their participation in the Battle of Yorktown, which was the concluding battle of the American Revolution.
Yorktown, Virginia.
Yorktown, Virginia, exactly, Yorktown, Virginia, which was the concluding battle in the American Revolution that secured our freedom from the British Crown. And that is why Yorktown Heights had their name changed from Crompond or Hanover, as I said, some of the other names that it was called over the years, to Yorktown Heights.
Well,
in New York.
actually, it's Yorktown as a group. Yorktown Heights
correct.
is a specific hamlet.
Exactly.
And Croton Heights being in that hamlet played
Yes.
a huge part. So, but the town of Yorktown in a full, we need to remember back then, you might have had one landowner who owned everything that is Yorktown Heights today. And then it broke up after the Revolution a little bit as they sold off or gave to family. That was like the big wedding gift, I guess, was here's your land to work next to mine. And you could go back and find the Strangs, the Travises, the Underhills, all of these people that were
Davenports,
participants,
right.
in the Revolutionary War, and that there's areas that are named after them, which may have to do, like Strang Boulevard was probably given to the Strang family at one point as land for dowry or for just to go out and farmstead. So as we were mainly farms up here, so it is really great. And I I have to sort of throw out there. Well, Robin, did you have anything first?
No, I was just going to say that if anyone is planning any events around the Yorktown 250 that we don't know about that we could add to our website, we'll add them. If you just, send Ed an email and we'll have it added to our calendar and all of our events on that page.
Yep, you could send an email to the supervisor's office and we could get you there. So, no, and you're right. And local authors who want to contact the library, they're always happy to do talks. And, we have a couple places that have said that they would give us space. The Shrub Oak International School has a theater that they said we could use if needed for any of the events. So it's nice as, and that's sort of what I was going to get at before, the participation, but not only, we're hoping for droves of people to come in on this. We really want to see a lot of people come, celebrate our country, celebrate our town, and really be a part of what the revolution has become today, and to celebrate those roots. But I have to thank all of the people who do this research, whether it's a hobby, whether it's their job, whether it's a love of just history. There are a ton of people who have really stepped up. They do. We have all the reenactors. We have the living history. We have it in our schools. I don't know if people know that. The kids actually get a chance, depending on the year, because I think that they run a cycle from Revolution all the way up to World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Do they do Vietnam, Korea now, or no?
I'm not sure.
But there's definitely the cycle of the Revolution up to World War II that our kids get to not only learn about, but reenact. They're in costume or period dress. Let's not call it costume. I know you have a bunch of World War II stuff at your house, and it's including a Jeep. So it's, you really get an opportunity to see it.
Yeah.
I did try holding on to my horse from the Civil War, but didn't quite work out too well.
Forgot to change the oil.
You forgot to change the oil, that's it. But there's so much out there, and it's really the people that keep our history alive that enable us to do things like this. So, I think that I'm forever grateful for that, because if you forget something bad, you're going to repeat it. Yeah. And if you forget something good, you lose a part of you lose a part of your identity.
Your heritage. Yeah.
Yes, your heritage, history, your identity. Yeah. You could call it whatever you want. And, we should never be losing our history and our identity. So thank you to all of the amateur historians out there, and even the professional ones that make this happen. So any closing thoughts?
Okay.
Any closing thoughts?
No, we all hope you come to all the events this year in Yorktown and around the whole county.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for tuning in to Your Town, Yorktown. We'll be looking for you on April 18th, May 2nd, June 5th and 6th, and all of the other things that come around. And please visit our library and check out some of their great programs on this. And we hope you enjoy, and we hope you could add to it. And don't forget, there are those sponsorship opportunities if you'd like to be a part of this, which I love, and we'll talk more about the bricks offline, but let's get that online with the brick sales, because I think that's
absolutely,
that's a real important thing we could link to your site. So
absolutely.
Have a great day, Yorktown, and we'll see you at the next Your Town, Yorktown.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.